Hi, guys. Happy Saturday. Welcome to High Strangeness. Hope you all are well. Thank you so much for all the nice things you guys have been DMing me and tweeting at me and commenting at me. Thank you so much. It means so much. And yeah, it makes me so happy to hear. Forgive me if I'm slow to respond, but I read it and it makes me smile. So thank you guys so much. I hope you're all well and I hope you're ready for an interesting. Sorry, messing with. Oh, okay, there we go. My hold on a second. My laptop. Okay, there we go. My laptop screen got stuck to my tripod. Wait. And now I feel like I'm about to. Okay. I thought I was about to lose my tripod. There we go. So I hope you guys are well tonight. It's nice seeing you all. Let's see who's in the chat. Insidious Tomas, Hex Cowboy, Crypto Compassion. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Are you all ready to talk about the flat earth theory? I keep wanting to say hollow earth theory, but it's the flat earth theory. So, and my hair is annoying me tonight. I used to wear it down initially when I started doing stuff, but once the New York humidity hits, then it's impossible. So, but yeah, I hope you guys are all doing well tonight. And Andrew Kennedy, my online ghost, Hex Cowboy, thank you so much for sending me those pictures of those lights. I've heard about them, but now that's inspired me to dive into them a little more. So hopefully we'll talk about that in an upcoming show. David Lee, thank you for being here tonight. So nice seeing everybody flow in and then come into the chat. So just out of curiosity, how many of you guys are flat earthers? And I know it's got a stigma to it. But I'm willing to talk about it. I'm willing to discuss it because if you saw my tweet, you'll see that I declared the fact that I am not a flat earther. I believe the earth is round. I believe the space is real too. And it is now sent me a documentary and he's like, please, watch this with an open mind. So thank you so much for sending it to me. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, even though I don't buy into that theory, I'm open to learning about it. So tonight I wanted to talk about some of those things that I've learned from it, because here's the thing. Even if you're not completely sold on it, there's a lot of things that do not add up. I mean, and at first as I'm watching the doc, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, it doesn't add up. They feel like there's plausible explanations for other things. And then as I start getting deeper into it, yeah, there's so much that doesn't make sense. And I think that there's a reason these things don't make sense. But we'll get into that later. And again, it's not to knock it. Maybe I'm not saying that it's not a possibility. Maybe I need to do more research, but yeah, like I said, I've come across some really interesting things and I took a bunch of notes and I want to talk about them with you guys tonight. But just, yeah, who's a flat earther? I'm very curious to know. Hey, 369. Thank you for showing tonight. I love seeing these regular faces, regular icons in here. So thank you all for coming back and for not being scared off from anything I might have said. So Andrew Kennedy, you're not a flat earther, but you're willing to be proved wrong. Same here. I am open to learning more. I mean, I'm not shut off from it. If somebody shows it to me and there's some evidence, then I'm willing to change my mind, change my opinion. So Hex Cowboy believes in flat earth. Insidious Tomas says, not me, but I'm interested in the idea of why people believe it. Maybe there's something to know about it. I feel the same way. I feel like, there's a lot of people that believe in it, and not crazy people. Because I feel like like initially when I first started hearing about it, it seemed so ridiculous. Like it seemed fake. I felt like it was a joke when people said they were into the flat earth. Just I don't know. It felt like some sort of silliness, and then I started seeing that people were legit about it, that they really believed it. And it's not crazy people. The same thing with UFOs. It's not just like crazy people who are reporting UFO sightings. It is, normal, regular people who aren't insane. And it's the same thing with the flat earth theory. And I wanted to know, I'm like, what is it about it that's pulling people into it? There has to be something to it if so many people believe in it. And so, yeah, I was curious to understand why. Why is this such a draw for so many people? So David Lee says, honestly, know nothing about flat earth. So you were in the right place tonight. So, hopefully maybe we can blow your mind with some facts. When Davis, sir, I don't know what that means. Oh, wait. You might have to jog my memory, please. So 369, stationary Earth is the next level of all our conspiratorial spiritual growth. In my own opinion, once you see it, it's undeniable. So are you saying the Earth is round, but it's stationary and it doesn't move? Kind of like tidally locked, but no, I guess tidal lock wouldn't work in this case. Ooh, so yeah, expands my open my mind to this. I haven't heard about stationary Earth theory. Yeah, and here to learn, and I am here to learn with you guys. So I'm so excited to explore this idea with you all. But so like flat Earth theory, and you know what? I'm gonna drop this documentary in the chat if anyone wants to take it out. I unfortunately ran out of time. I'm a little over halfway through, but I was able to get a ton of info about it. So I'm curious what the rest of this documentary brings. Maybe had I watched the whole thing, I would have been convinced. But like I said, like I am in agreement with the fact that there is a lot that does not add up, does not make sense, and something is being held back. I totally am in agreement with that. So what did I do? Okay, so it's on. Oh, it's on BitChute. Okay, what did I just do? Hold on. There we go. I accidentally pasted the StreamYard link into it somehow. Okay, so I'm going to drop this into the live chat if anyone wants to check it out, and then I'll probably eventually throw it into the description too. So here is the link to the Flat Earth documentary that I had watched a little over half of it. It was sent to me by It Is Now, and I like the way the guy lays out his evidence, and he is like this man who made this documentary is so like behind it that he's like, he even gives out his phone number and he's like, listen, call me if you have questions and want to talk about it. So that's interesting. So hey, Mango Junkie, thank you for joining us. So my question that I presented to the live chat was, do you believe in flat earth theory? So Mango Junkie, I am curious if you do or if you don't. And anyone else who may not have dropped their opinion into the chat. I want to hear, what side people are on of this. So 369, I can't ever believe we are in a spinning ball millions of miles per hour through infinite space. So you believe we're in a ball, but just not spinning. Okay. See, that's interesting. Spin on one pulse chain. Stretch as it was. Oh, that's funny. You guys are funny. Oh, you can't click the link that's in the chat? Okay, then I'll have to put it in the description eventually. NATO logo is literally a flat earth map. But like any map projection is going to look flat because like, how can you put a picture of a globe into the picture? So that doesn't completely convince me, but no, I hear you. I get what you're saying about that. So Facing Reality says flat earth is not a theory, it's a reality. And Mango Junkie says the arguments on both sides are interesting. Ultimately, I think it's relevant. I know that did cross my mind as I was watching this documentary. I'm like, does it really matter though? What the answer is? I mean, either way, things are being hidden from us. So just some notes I took on this from what I've seen in this documentary. So it starts out with the idea of initially when we were like starting the space program and they were sending rockets into space and trying to look at the Earth, that something with, the countries that were in, forgive me for the way I'm paraphrasing it, so I might not have it exact, but here's the gist, that when they were doing this, they noticed something was odd. Because all of a sudden, after they started this, US, I believe it's Project or Operation High Jump, they called it, started setting off nukes and shooting these nukes at the sky continuously. So something like all of a sudden, while they were just doing their normal rocketry and trying to start the space program, something made them all of a sudden go, "Oh shoot, we need to start firing nukes at the sky." And and US was doing it, Russia was doing this. So something kind of set off this interest and this concern, which, I mean, it seems like a waste of resources. And they're saying that these aren't like like the nukes that were dropped on Japan. Like these were massive in comparison. We're really sending a lot of energy at that. And it's interesting because I have seen this picture, and it's a completely mind-boggling picture because, again, like I said, I don't believe in flat earth. I believe in hollow earth. Flat earth theory. So when I saw this picture, it was these weird blue glass looking rocks on the ground, and supposedly there were pieces of the firmament. So in that, and they just didn't look like anything like I had ever seen before, kind of unearthly. So like when I looked at it, I'm like, okay, that kind of made me question my reality. So the idea of, this Operation High Jump was that they were trying to fire these nukes at the firmament to see whether they can break it, because what the heck is going on, and can they break through it? To me, like, okay, I don't doubt the fact that they were firing nukes like that and detonating it up in the atmosphere, but I think it was just nuclear. My opinion, I feel like that can be explained as nuclear testing. It was the Cold War. And they were trying to show their power, but also seeing what you can do with it at that atmosphere. So I don't think that really tells us much. I mean, that's my thought, not to poo-poo on it. And also, if you believe that the powers that be in the world are trying to poison us constantly, what a perfect way to put so much garbage into the atmosphere to poison the world and the population. So I think that could kind of be explained away with that, but I just wanted to present that out there, that Operation High Jump is viewed as one of those, one of those things of proof of them kind of trying to figure out the firmament. So we're going to, so I'll start with that one. But let me just go. I want to go back and forth between the chat and what we're presenting here. So NASA hires more artists than any other position. Yeah, I mean, okay, the fact, what's going on with the NASA CGI doesn't add up. Does not add up. And they hire more artists than any other position, even more than engineers. So how do we know that, though? Is there proof somewhere? Can we look at their hiring roles? I'm just curious about that. I'm not trying to be contrary. I'm just wondering. But all those photos are BS. Yeah, for a while, I did think that they were real, but then now as I've started learning that those are composite photos, that we don't have full photos, everything is a composite. You would think we've been far enough away from Earth, in space travel to be able to get a full picture, not a composite picture. And then, you can explain that away of like, oh, maybe the cameras aren't good, and, and that's why they need composites. But at this point in 2022, we should have good enough cameras to be, they were able to image all those galaxies they just showed us this week. Why aren't we able to get like a solid image of the Earth or of local celestial bodies without it being a composite image? Yeah, so I agree. So that is weird. That is very strange. Thank you so much, Crypto Jack. Yes, hit that like and subscribe if you can. I would love that. Thank you. Oh, Project Fishbowl. Okay, not Operation High Jump. Thank you so much for the correction. So anytime I said Operation High Jump, I was wrong. It was Project Fishbowl. Thank you, Hex Cowboy. Because I didn't write that down, so I couldn't remember what it was. Operation Dominic, Operation Fishbowl. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you for the correction, guys. So space above sun, moon, planets, and stars could all very well be real, but we are in the earth plane or on the foundation, the immovable center of creation. Okay, so interesting. So 369 is saying that we are on a round ball, but it doesn't move because we're the center of creation. So basically, it's an earth-centric model of the universe instead of like we, are believed to live in a heliocentric solar system where we're all going around the sun. So instead, this is a solar system and the universe revolving around the earth, which which would align with certain religious perspectives. So this is cool. This is interesting. So how about physics and science? What about, the physics and science? Yeah, no, so a lot of people do believe that the physics and science are faked, you know? So even if you can go home and run your own statistics and science, they're basing it off of um, ideas that are wrong that are made to support a certain belief. So our calculations are always going to come up wrong. Yeah, no, that is, but that also ties into Hollow Earth. So yeah, so I will get into that too. But thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, exactly. Either way, this is a fun thing to discuss. I think it's so fascinating because, like I said, even if you don't believe in this stuff does not line up. This stuff doesn't make sense. Yeah. Um, yeah. Is everything fake? Why are they lying to us? There looks to be huge deception going on, huge lies. And it comes back down to why? Control, probably. Hey, Hexagon Contractor, thank you for coming in tonight. So the moon missions were fakes. Yeah. I I am on the page that the moon missions were likely faked, but I think that means secret space program. But yeah, we'll leave that there. Hey Hex Hoddle, thanks for coming in tonight. Oh, thank you so much. It's very kind of you. Thank you for that compliment. Oh, RH is coming up next. Oh, exciting. Okay. But thank you for letting me know. So when I see my numbers drop off, that's what that means, not because everybody thinks I'm insane. So Hollow Earth is also based on a level plane. Interesting, because I've always looked at Hollow Earth as being based on the round ball theory, but I didn't realize that there was a level plane, which would probably come back to what the Greeks believed with the underworld. Interesting. So Hex Cowboy says, I believe the sun and the moon are light, not physical matter. The Bible says a light for the day and a light for the night. Interesting. So that they're just straight up light, straight up photons, straight up. Okay. I can see that. I like that. Oh, and Vibes of the Cosmos has great videos. Thank you for the suggestion. What is very weird to me is why is Antarctica so incredibly overprotected and off limits? And I was about to jump into that next. The same thing. I'm always wondering about Antarctica. So the thing with Antarctica is off limits. Like, you can't go into Antarctica. And if you do, it has to be like an expedition that has permission, and then you can't go beyond a certain boundary. And with the exception of the South Pole, all the for the most part, all the Antarctic bases are relatively close to shore. So as a regular person, you can't go, oh, I'm going to take my boat, I'm going to take my yacht, and I'm going to sail into Antarctica, or I'm going to take my private plane, the planes that can land on water, and I'm going to go there. No, you are not allowed. There is like this, there's all these regulations, and it's not just one country, it's all the countries seem to be protecting it. And here's the thing, like Admiral Byrd, when he went to Antarctica, he had said, oh, it's very resource heavy, like all the countries are like interested in it, basically in carving up a piece. But then all of a sudden, the countries didn't want to carve up a piece anymore, and they signed an Antarctic treaty saying nobody can own Antarctica, and they left it alone. And this was the 50s. This was when people weren't worried about the environment and what that could possibly do to the environment. They were all like, oh, cool, like resources, coal, we can grab everything we can. But all of a sudden, the 50s, the treaty said, nope, nobody can own it. And then they decided that nobody can go in. And even like if you take a cruise to Antarctica, a lot of times they're just taking you to an island. Is it Prince Edward Island? I can't remember the island, but they're taking you to an island that's offshore. So there's something that's very restricted, because I think, you know what? If nobody owns Antarctica, then how can you possibly trespass there? What gives the governments of the world the right to say, oh, this land nobody owns, you're not allowed to go there? That doesn't make any sense at all. Or you're not allowed to fly your plane over. If you are willing to take that risk, and say, listen, if I go into Antarctica, I know that I can't call anybody's Coast Guards. I can't call for help. I cannot do anything. I'm willing to waive those risks. I'm doing this at my own risk. If I crash my plane, that's my problem. You know what? The libertarian, we're going to take a libertarian view on it. If you are willing to take those risks, you should be allowed to go in, do whatever you want, and explore. And you know what? You can't say, oh, it's, environmental. They're afraid of what the crash planes are going to do. It's a giant continent. What is one or two down planes really going to do? You could say, oh, because then you're going to have hundreds of planes crashing and destroying the environment. You know what? After a couple crash, people are kind of going to be deterred. And there's a lot of deterrence that would happen, let's say the Earth is round. Flying over the South Pole. You have magnetic issues with your compasses. You have cold issues. Where are you going to refuel? It's a dangerous thing. But again, if you are willing to take that risk, if you are willing to risk your life, and nobody owns Antarctica, nobody owns that airspace, you shouldn't be kept from doing it. So the fact that they're so intent on keeping everybody away says a lot. And, if you believe the Earth is flat, then there's the view that there's a barrier there. That's the wall. That's where you're going to find the wall. And they're trying to keep you away from the wall. So you could look at it that way. I wonder, what if there's just weirdness on Antarctica? Because I look at the Earth as being round. So what if we just have straight up weirdness? What if it's an entrance to hollow Earth, round hollow Earth? What if Antarctica, there's some weird civilization there, and that's why they're keeping us away? So either way you look at it, whether you believe in the flat Earth and believe that the barrier's there, or whether you don't believe and you just think something else weird is there, that doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense that we're banned from Antarctica. So there's another one of those weird things that do not make sense. So Antarctica is a huge part of that equation with the flat Earth, because if you're living on a flat Earth, people believe that there is no Antarctica sitting at the bottom of the flat Earth, that it's basically like the UN map. It surrounds the entire perimeter of the Earth like an ice wall, kind of like think of the ice wall in Game of Thrones, that it's kind of operating like that. Because if you look at the Antarctic plateau, it's like, I forget how tall the ice is. Is it a mile? It's something really tall. So if you want to look at it from the flat Earth perspective, Antarctica is all around us, and it's just this giant ice wall, and eventually you'll find the barrier beyond there. So that's one belief of it. And like I said, either way, whether you believe it or you don't, it doesn't make sense. It's odd. That's why, I've joked with Matt, Crypto Heartbeat, that why don't, when we have our pulse and hex money, why don't we all kind of do a hexpedition? Why don't we just fund going over there? Who cares, what the government say? We could bail ourselves out of jail or whatever, or they'll probably try to kill us along the way. But, why don't we take our money and explore it and get answers to it? Right? So, yeah, exactly. Even weirder that all governments agree on not letting people down to Antarctica. Since when do all governments agree? It's this peaceful multinational operation to keep us off Antarctica. Like all of a sudden now they peacefully get along and totally agree on it. That should be a massive red flag to everyone. Exactly, because they do not agree on anything else. So thank you. I appreciate it. Once this New York weather and humidity hits, then my hair can't be down. So thank you, Bobby Axelrod, for the compliment. Leonardo Ramirez, huge garbage fan and huge globe head. Oh, thank you. So, and globe head meaning that you believe the Earth is round. Just curious, or is that is globe a band? Like garbage band. Just call each other darklings. Is globe head another thing? I'm just curious. Make sure I'm not missing another meaning. But thank you so much, Leonardo, for popping in here today. Hexagon X says, seems like there's probably more land. They just got us to believe we've seen it all. And think about Mount Everest. It's like a huge tourism destination. So if they have explored the entire Antarctic landmass, why aren't they bringing huge expeditions down there? That could be you can make a buttload of money just bringing tourists around. I think Qantas Airlines operates flights out of Sydney during Antarctic summer, and it's a lot of money, and they take you on just this thing where you fly over the Antarctic landmass for about 4 hours. Obviously, you're not going all the way over it. You're just going over the edges, and they bring you to see it. So I think it's interesting because, the fact that, and I've seen pictures from it, that when you're flying over it, you can't see where it ends, that it really does go on a long way. So it is a massive landmass. And it shows that there's money in Antarctic tourism. People pay thousands and thousands of dollars to be on that flight. Hey, I mean, I would be interested. If I had it to pay, I would be spending that money to be on that flight too. So there is an interest. So, if it really was just whatever, just this barren wasteland, then hey, open it up to the tourists like you do Mount Everest and let them all explore. But no, they don't want you on it. And that's very telling. That's so telling. And exactly, I think there's a lot more to it than meets the eye, whether it's a lot of, extra land, whether it's an entrance to Hollow Earth, whether it's the I don't know, civilization there, or whether you find the wall. It's interesting because Admiral Byrd, on one of his expeditions to Antarctica, like they kept going back. He was an explorer back, in the 50s, where I guess he still had explorers figuring things out, like Indiana Jones or whatever. And he went a few times, but then eventually, during one of his times going down to Antarctica, he he went back with the military. For whatever reason, the military was interested. And he's like, yeah, it's a strategic, possibly military position. And he had also, like I said, referenced the fact that there were a lot of resources. There was a lot of coal down there. There were countries interested. This was before the Antarctic Treaty. There were countries interested in carving up Antarctica, but something scared them away. But he said that when he was on one of these expeditions to Antarctica, he hit a barrier. He didn't call it a wall, but he called it a barrier, and he could not see the top of this barrier, and they had no idea where it ended. But all of a sudden, in Antarctica, a barrier, which is mind-blowing. Can you imagine going somewhere and hitting a barrier? And I guess the military maybe decided to explore how high up it went and how, in what direction it went. And people who believe in the flat earth theory believe that, the flat earth isn't like you can sail off the edge of the earth and you're going to fall off into space or whatever. People believe that we are under this dome, that we're under, like kind of like, I think there was a Stephen King TV show and book about it called Under the Dome, that we are living under some massive dome, which then branches into a ton of theories about what the dome is. But it is like on record, it's in his writings, where you can see that Admiral Byrd talked about hitting this barrier and that there was something, blocking you. You couldn't go any farther in Antarctica. And that's really creepy. It's really strange. And I know, looking at that, you could be like, Ashley, you're reading about this barrier that he hit. How can you deny that the earth is flat? Like at that point, there's no, that's it. The earth is flat if you believe that Admiral Byrd saw a barrier. But I wonder, my thing, and I guess maybe you want to call it cognitive dissonance because I can't let go of the round earth theory, but like I think that I wonder, could Admiral Byrd be part of a disinformation campaign? Because think about Area 51. With Area 51, they want us to think creepy, weird alien things are going on at Area 51. So we're looking at Area 51. Meanwhile, they have stuff going on somewhere else, like disinformation. So my thing is, maybe they want us to argue about whether the earth is flat. And maybe they want us to think that they're covering up flat earth, but maybe it's because they're hiding something bigger from us. So instead, while we're occupying ourselves over the details of flat earth, there's something bigger going on. So that's what I'm starting to wonder, and again, maybe you want to call it cognitive dissonance. I can't let go of the round earth thing, but like, I'm starting to wonder if Admiral Byrd, wasn't a real person and is part of some sort of disinformation campaign. But extra terra, what is extra terra? So like beyond the earth. So Leonardo, how is how do flat earthers refer to round earth believers? Oh, okay, gotcha. In sort of a defamatory fashion. Gotcha. So that's like the mean way to refer to us. Okay. I like that. Thank you, because I've never heard of that nickname. So what is the necessary antecedent for gas pressure? I don't know. What is the necessary antecedent for gas pressure? I don't know the answer. Physical science wasn't always my thing. Are you asking me that, or did you know the answer? Because if you know the answer, I'm going to need help with that, facing reality. And globe head, so that's the mean name. So yeah, I still am a globe head, but like I said, I'm not trying to dump all over these ideas because I do believe that there is something in this, that there's something else happening with the flat earth theory, with the flat earth idea. Okay, so the necessary antecedent for gas pressure is containment. Okay, so in order to have the gas pressure, you need containment. But what about gravity? What if gravity is a form of containment? But then I guess we get into a belief that gravity has never been proven, and how do we know what gravity is? But interesting point. Thank you for bringing that up. And since we braid air pressure or bread air pressure at 1 bar, it needs to be contained to manifest. But wait, maybe gravity is that containment. But yeah, but like I said, I'm not trying to be contrary. I just want to, I just want to work through these ideas with you guys. And the fact they also said in this documentary, the fact that NASA is militarized is very telling. The fact that until relatively recently, there hasn't been private space exploration. So for some reason, the only space exploration we have is NASA. I mean, I think that could be explained by the fact that the military has so much funding, so why not be NASA? But then again, if you wanted to cover something up, I guess the military would be a good way to do it. So another thing about NASA is that they said, and this, this did blow my mind, that there's no 180-degree or 360-degree footage of space missions. So, like, notice whenever they take a picture or video of the Earth or work on the space station, it's only in one direction. They never turn the camera around entirely. And they were saying that that's, because like if you're on a movie set, if you're on a TV set, you can't turn it all the way around because you would see the crew. So that there's a setup, that there's a crew happening. And that's why we never have seen that, which is interesting because it's true. We've never seen it. Personally, I wonder if there's a secret space program happening that we're way more advanced space-wise that they want us to know. So they feed us this fake version of space. That's what I've always wondered. But again, like I said, some of these like kind of made me go, okay, yeah, something's not right. This stuff does not add up. So same thing like we talked about, the composite shots of space. Why with all our tech in 2022, do we not have like a full shot of the Earth and a full shot of the local celestial bodies? Why is it always composite shots? And, something that goes through my head is like, well, what if like there's like UFOs always in the pictures? But am I reaching now? Am I really reaching? Because I want, I want us to stay with my globe head ideas. But yeah, I mean, and I've thought about that recently. I do not understand all the SpaceX launches. I'm like, when they're launching, they always are showing a computerized image. And I figured, okay, they can't show us the actual image because, you can't get cameras so close to the burners of the rockets or whatever, because then you'll have an issue. So they're showing us a computerized image so that we can have an idea of what's going on. And like, fine. But I noticed that like on this footage, it never says, okay, computer simulated. And then everybody's acting like the footage is real. And I'm like, no, this is clearly computerized footage. So I'm like, are they feeding it to us as if it's real, SpaceX? So I don't understand, because that stuff looks so fake to me. I don't understand why SpaceX isn't giving us real footage. So that does throw me off, because they're a private entity. They're not, or they're supposedly private, they're not militarized. So why aren't we getting those pictures? So yes, that does throw me off. Why don't we have better pictures? Why don't we have 360-degree videos? There's something that does disturb me. I will give you that. So we can't evoke another part of science to make it work. We can't evoke gravity to make natural law work. But isn't gravity a part of natural law? And like I said, I'm not being contrary. I just truly don't know. I'm trying to understand this. So it works on its own. That's why it's a natural law. So I still, yeah, I feel like they fit together, but I do get what you're saying. They kind of, the two different parts of natural law. So this is alpha. Yeah, no, facing reality. I'm not denying you do know your stuff in physical science. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. So training us into the metaverse so that they can control what we know. Oh, okay. So feeding us composite images, feeding us computer generated images. It's kind of basically like a priming of our mental state so that we will accept the metaverse. That, yeah, I agree. Everything, if you look around, everything around us somehow seems to be priming us for something. And when you ask what, it's like, okay, well, they don't want us to question reality. What would be the reason to not question reality? Do they want us to live in this metaverse and not necessarily live, but do they want us to be distracted by this metaverse and take a part in it? And the fact that if we can shut down other parts of our belief about reality, then we can more easily be a part of the metaverse. Why? For those who are wondering, if and why, is the metaverse a reality? It comes back to that whole thing of the WEF, the Great Reset, where is it Klaus Schwab or somebody in the WEF? They say you will own nothing and you will be happy. So if they can keep us content in our digital worlds, and I don't mean like Ready Player One where we're actually living in it, but think about it, like the fact that we are like, always on our phones, always on our iPads, everything. We're not necessarily like in a VR virtual universe that, we're living in like Ready Player One or whatever, but we are participating in all aspects of that metaverse. We're basically living through our devices. So we're not that far from it. But so if you can be distracted by it and be so immersed in it, then you could kind of stop paying. You can be more content with what's around you. You can be content with less. You can get rid of private property ownership because people are so brainwashed and into this. Oh, look, let's own some digital land on, what is it, Earth 2, whatever those programs are. So you can see that a lot of this stuff does prime your mental state to be more accepting of participating in a virtual world. I can see that. Yeah. I should say the metaverse mentality instead. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was trying to go for. The metaverse mentality. Yeah, and I felt like that was what you were going for. I just didn't know a way to word it, but thank you. That's a great way to put it. The metaverse mentality. So a lot of times where you get fed in a strange perception of reality, or they want us to accept things like, like we said, the CGI that is constantly being fed to us through SpaceX, NASA giving us the composite images. So yes, I will give you that. I don't understand why that's the case. So when you put it that way, okay, they're priming us. They're priming us for metaverse mentality. That I completely understand. That makes a lot of sense. So I like the way you put that. So how would airplanes not fly off into space if the Earth is round? Because of gravity, right? Because gravity would always kind of keep you flying at that point. And also with airplanes, because you would have to kind of keep following the curvature. Because I don't know a ton about aerospace science, but I do know that if you do fly in a certain angle upward, doesn't your plane kind of stall? So if you didn't follow the curvature of the Earth, wouldn't your plane stall eventually? So you have to follow the curvature, but wouldn't it naturally happen because of gravity? But I know gravity's another debate, but that's just that's my headspace. That's what's going through my headspace. So they would have to decline at an alarming rate to adjust for curvature, but they don't. But the fact is, like, the curvature is so much bigger than the airplane, So like, let's say here's the curvature of the Earth and the airplane was the same, shape as the curvature of the Earth, then you would have to keep declining. But the airplane is just a little speck, so I think it's a lot easier, be like the size of a little flea against my hand to just keep flowing with the curvature of the Earth. So to me, airplanes don't make a ton, aren't enough of an argument. But another aspect, though, to the flat Earth argument involving airplanes that makes me go, what, is the fact that they presented the idea on this documentary that why don't planes fly over the poles? Like air travel, we're always going, this long way around the Earth. Why don't we fly over the poles? Because it would really cut a lot of airplanes in flights significantly. It would cut off a lot of time off of flights. And that threw me off because I didn't know that wasn't happening. I assumed that there was airplane flights, over the poles, especially the North Pole. Think about it. Why fly over the whole United States and the Pacific to get to Russia from New York if you can just fly over the poles and be there really quickly? So the fact that that doesn't happen, and they try to explain it away of, oh, it's, sometimes if you're in a not a single, is it a double engine where there's one engine on each wing of the plane or whatever, that there's not enough fuel being carried in the plane to get that far over. But you know what, we have way more massive planes that fly. Why not send those over the poles? So I don't believe the argument that there's not enough gas to get over the poles. They try to say, oh, it doesn't happen in the southern hemisphere because the flights between the southern hemisphere cities aren't as common, as they are in the northern hemisphere. Okay, I could see that argument, but we have so many flights in the northern hemisphere that could benefit from it, and we don't fly over the North Pole. Another thing that they said is, okay, well, the magnetic north, it'll confuse the planes when they fly over and could potentially lead to air crashes. But we live, again, in 2022. We have computer technology. It should be able to adjust for the compass differences. So I don't think that's a great argument at all. So to me, that's not explained. I do not understand why we're not flying over the poles to cut our flight times shorter, especially when we live in a time where everybody's trying to argue over, save the earth, use less fuel, less fossil fuel, or whatever. You know what? It would save so much fuel on a plane to start flying over the North Pole. We don't do that. So I don't get that. That throws me off too. That didn't make any sense to me. So the magic work to everything is gravity, and it makes you think. Yeah, to me, yeah, the answer to everything is gravity, but it's true because, yeah, you're saying that gravity is always the magic answer that explains everything. What if gravity's not real and they're just using it as the magic word to cover everything up? That's a good argument. I understand what you're saying because it's true. Too much is being explained by gravity. I hear you. I agree. But I'm still not ready to drop it. I still am a globe ahead, but I'm open. Like I said, I'm still exploring, and I still have to finish the other half of this doc. So what if I find something mind blowing? But so we were talking about, so in Insidious, Tomas, you brought up the fact that there's like a mental priming happening to kind of prime us for the metaverse reality. And the documentary also argued that there was a priming of our minds from Hollywood too, and just Hollywood films. Like the fact that flat earth lies, they believe that around earth lies. So flat earthers believe that a lot of the lies about the earth being round is built on the space program. They use the space program to explain things away, just like kind of like we said, gravity is being used to explain things away. So the people in charge are using the space program to lie to us. And then if you look at Hollywood, movies, they're basically programming our brains to make us accept the conspiracy, because in Hollywood, you see these space movies and all these science movies, and it's all based on the model that the earth is round and that we live in a solar system is heliocentric and that we're moving in a galaxy around, so it's all based off that. So we're basically constantly being fed to that over and over and over. And it is interesting, like, why aren't there any Hollywood movies that take place on a flat earth? I mean, there's some things that reference it, but for the most part, it's always based on that model. And if it's sci-fi, if it's science fiction, why not make some TV programs or movies, built off of flat earth? And they don't. And it really does make you wonder if it is programming your minds to accept the fact that we live on a round ball in space. And they said something else that's interesting, that there's no moon movies besides Apollo 13. The right stuff was leading up to the moon program, but never got into the Apollo program. And I think, okay, there was like Apollo 17, the scary movie, in space. But for the most part, there aren't very many moon movies besides, Apollo 13 or From the Earth to the Moon that aired on HBO, that mini series in the late 90s. And the documentary argued the fact that they don't want to do that because Hollywood is like, working on programming us into that mindset, because they don't want to show you just how much movie magic can make the moon look real, because they're afraid if you start realizing how real the moon landing looks in Hollywood, that you're going to go, wow, isn't that easy to fake? So they don't want you to question things so that they don't reveal too much through that. And I do believe that Hollywood, TV, all that, yeah, it very likely is used to manipulate us into certain beliefs, into certain things. Yeah, I see that. I totally see that. But in terms of not doing movies about the moon or whatever, I'm like, well, it kind of gets boring to tell the moon story over and over. Yeah, the moon's cool, but it's kind of barren. So I don't know why tell the same story over and over. So not completely convinced, but if it is true that we live on a flat earth, then I totally see how Hollywood and the media programs our minds you know, to not believe that the earth is flat. I see that now. So I'm going to catch up on this live chat before I move forward. Yeah, so gravity is a weird interaction that hasn't been really explained. It is odd because to me, I thought that was a solid thing, that we know that it's the law of gravity, that it's beyond proven. And it only recently occurred to me. So thank you for bringing that up, Leonardo. Yeah, that like there isn't like a full explanation for gravity. Like we kind of have a gist of it, but we don't have a full explanation as to why that happens. And I always thought like, oh, centrifugal force, accounts for gravity and everything, and that mass, has to do with gravity. So even if there's not a centrifugal force, or let's say the sun, that it's not necessarily the same centrifugal force that keeps our feet planted on the earth because of the weight of the sun, that's what makes kind of a gravity and the gravitational forces in our solar system, right? So I figured that kind of explained it, and that the physicists and everybody, that they knew more about that. It didn't occur to me that it's still kind of a mystery, that there isn't a complete explanation for that. So that kind of does blow my mind. And it's amazing because when you start looking at it that way, then you're like, oh, so they're using this thing that's not completely explained as a way to kind of reinforce everything about the round earth. So that kind of does give me pause. And yeah. So like I said, there's certain things that don't add up. So it's the theory of relativity. Yeah. And within this theory, it's stated as an effect. So that is mind blowing that it's presented to us, the fact that we know what gravity is, but in all reality, we don't really know what gravity is. Okay, I lost the stream. There I am. All right. Sorry, I hope everybody just didn't exit, but I'm back now. Because this like trackpad on my laptop is so sensitive. So like I don't know. I guess I swiped left or something with 2 fingers and it made the browser go back. But I'm back now. How about being able to see the full Chicago skyline from Canada? Because Canada is still relatively close to Chicago, so you haven't gotten into the full curvature of the Earth yet. I think that's the explanation. But I have seen those videos where people walk up to pilots and ask them, "Do you think the Earth is flat?" And so many pilots are like, "Yeah, I believe the Earth is flat." And that did give me pause too, because I'm like, these pilots that are up in the air all the time and flying, and they think it's flat. I didn't hear back yet, but I texted my friend whose brother is a pilot. I'm like, "What does your brother think of this?" Like, there's too many pilots that do believe that the Earth is flat. But then I'm like, what if the pilots are trying to mess with you? Though my dad was a military pilot, and I asked him, and he's like, no, I don't believe the Earth is flat. He's never seen anything as a military pilot that's made him believe otherwise. So it's kind of mixed when you talk to the pilots. Yeah, that one explorer reported green valleys in Antarctica, but all our photos show it frozen. So that also comes back to, for me, this point, the round earth thing. So when I was saying that I feel like flat earth is almost like a disinformation campaign, I think it's a disinformation campaign to cover up things like hollow earth, and to cover up things that there might be weird green valleys and everything in Antarctica. But then again, in the whole theory of round Earth, because of the way the Earth tilts in the seasons, because I forget how many degrees, is it 37.5-degree tilt? Because of the tilt of our Earth, there shouldn't be green valleys in Antarctica. But if we live in a flat Earth, then that could account for green valleys in Antarctica. So that also is a mind warp when you hear that. What is the distance from Chicago to Canada? So I guess it depends on what part of Canada, but Chicago has that Great Lake between Chicago and Canada. So it's relative, it's close enough where I feel like the curvature wouldn't completely come into play yet. Yeah, if you want to calculate that, go right ahead. Thank you. Yeah, I'm open to whatever you might find. Ooh, so we just dropped off down to 5. So I guess that means Richard Hart is speaking. Um, so it's about 70 miles. So I mean, visibility on a clear day, you can see really far, right? So I still don't think we're at a distance far enough to be able to see the curvature yet. But, um, so, so okay, sorry, I'm checking my notes. We did talk about Admiral Byrd. Oh, and why isn't okay, we did talk about the UN flag. Oh yeah, but there's this idea of also why isn't Antarctica on the UN flag? People are like, well, is it because Antarctica, the world's flat, Antarctica goes around the borders? Is Antarctica represented by those olive branches around the borders? So a lot of people look at the fact that the UN flag, are they like secretly like telling us or secretly mocking us and trying to show us the fact that the earth is flat and they don't put Antarctica on it because maybe Antarctica doesn't exist as a continent the way we believe it. But my thing is, the Antarctic Treaty makes it so that Antarctica is not claimed by any country. So Antarctica is not a country. Therefore, why would it be on the UN map? That's my thought on it. So if you consider the idea that the elites are attempting to control what we know about space, then historical hieroglyphs and the pyramids would be something like a truth opposition to the elites. Yeah. So either way, whether the earth is round or whether the earth is felt flat, I do believe that there is a control of information happening, that something is being hidden. So whether you believe that they're hiding the fact that the earth is flat, or if you believe that they're using flat earth as a disinformation campaign, they are hiding something. And when you talk about the historical hieroglyphs and the pyramids, there also is a lot going on in Egypt that always bothers me, because the thing with Egypt is, and I know a lot of people want to attribute the fact that they haven't completely explored a lot of ruins and a lot of pyramids. Oh, you want to attribute it to preservation, and no, they haven't explored it all because we don't want to ruin anything. But you know what? Back when they were exploring in like the 1800s, people were really gung ho and they didn't care about preservation. So I think that a lot of things were explored back then, and they just went all out for it. But they're hiding what they found in there by pretending that the stuff hasn't been explored. And why would they hide that? Because of the control of information, they can control us. So I am with you that there is stuff being hidden and it is related to space, possibly in Egypt. And there's a whole belief that there's a whole underground city in Egypt and that there are archives, just like the Vatican archives or the Library of Alexandria, that exist under the Sphinx, and that there is that access is being blocked to because of whatever's in there. They're afraid of us getting our hands on that information because they would lose control of us. So yeah, Insidious Tomas. Yeah, man, that's a whole other rabbit hole. Again, man, if our pulse moons, we got to invest in a lot of expeditions and exploring. Just pool our money together, man. Yeah. So Julian, all countries support the Antarctic Treaty, which is weird. Yeah, exactly. Why are they going to agree on that? Especially because most countries on the earth are greedy. They're all going to want a piece of that. So why don't they want a piece of that? Is it because there's creepy stuff on Antarctica they don't want us to know about, that there's alien civilizations, that it's like Alien versus Predator or whatever? Or is it because that's where the wall is that keeps us, that's the end of the dome? Are they keeping us in? Which one is it? But basically something is weird where they all decided, nope, it's fine. We won't take those resources. It's okay. We won't claim it. Because, usually when you have these kind of treaties, one country will usually come in, stomp all over it and be like, I'm not signing it. Give me my Antarctic land. So this is, I think, one of the biggest red flags of all. The fact that they're all in agreement over Antarctica, and they all in agreement about letting the peons, the little people like us, nowhere near it, is a huge red flag. Why are they agreeing on this? But yeah, facts, hiding something for sure. All of this is adding up to the fact that something is being hidden from us. And oh, okay. And I will get back to that. I want to jump to what Facing Reality just posted. So Facing Reality posted, so over 70 miles where the observer is 6 feet tall, Canada would be hidden behind 2,993 feet of curvature. Okay, so that's the math for it. So basically, you should not be able to see the Chicago skyline from Canada. Okay, I'll give you that. Because if that's the math for it, I can't do those kind of math. It doesn't make sense. So I'm with you. Like I said, I'm sorry if I'm being stubborn, and the fact that I still can't get on board with the flat earth theory, but I am on the same page as you guys, over this fact that all this doesn't add up. Why are we still able to see Chicago? Why are we still able to, not see a curvature anywhere else in the earth? And it also, a thought occurred to me. It's like, what if we are on a globe, but what if it's bigger than we think? And that's why we don't see curvature. And I know I keep popping back to this globe idea, but I mean, here's a thought. What if we don't live on a flat earth, right? But instead, what if we are under a dome, being kept separate like rats or whatever? And what if we're under a dome on a planet like the size of Jupiter? And we're just given this little section and they're letting us think it's the Earth. But meanwhile, we're living on this massive planet. So to us, everything looks flat because the planet's massive and our Earth-sized dome doesn't even touch the curvature yet. So what if we are on this flat surface under a dome? What if that's all legit, but maybe we're on some other massive planet the size of Jupiter, and we think, and for whatever reason they're imprisoning us on this dome, and it happened years ago, so that it's been hidden through history, and that now we're generations away from that. What if that's the case? So it's funny because it opens up so many other rabbit holes too. It's one after the other. Because, like I said, I agree with you guys that this stuff doesn't add up, that this doesn't make sense, and the stuff is being hidden from us. And I want to get into why that stuff is being hidden from us. Yeah, stay home. Yeah, they want us on. They want us in this globe. They want us home. They don't want us thinking. They don't want us questioning everything. They don't want us going to Antarctica. So the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles. But what if we are under a dome, just like in the Stephen King thing, but on some massive planet? How insane would that be? So the drop is about 8 inches per mile squared. Yeah. So like I said, I am with you. So even if I can't, or at least not yet, drop the whole idea, the whole thing that I'm a globe head, if I can't let go of that yet, I will agree with you on the fact that these facts, the math they give us, the physics they give us, do not add up, and that everything they do and the way they're cooperating on Antarctica does not add up. So, and why? What would be the idea of why would you even hide the idea that the Earth is flat? Honestly, I forget who was saying it before, but why does it even matter whether we're on a flat Earth or a round Earth? What is the difference? So I'm so if we are in a flat Earth, why do they hide it from us? What does it matter if we know that? It's a form of control, right? If you control the information, you can control the people. Yeah, you guys know that I am a huge believer in that. But I also heard that, maybe it's to curtail panic, because this documentary used the idea of of rats, like, or mice. You put mice in a cage, they always kind of explore the boundaries and then they kind of just deal with it. They settle, they go about their day, the mice. But when they stand up and they kind of explore the boundaries of the tank or the cage they're in, right? And then they go back to it. And then if you're on a giant nature preserve, these animals don't even realize, they might see a fence every once in a while, but they're not wondering why there's a fence. And they go back to all the miles that they live inside this preserve, right? And it doesn't make a difference to them. So, but that's animals. If humans saw, and again, I'm getting this from the documentary, because this documentary had, this was a valid point. If humans see a fence, humans are going to question it. Oh, why is this fence there? Who put it there? How far does it go? How tall is it? Can I dig in under it? Humans will always question things. So the fact that, if humans knew that there was a dome, if there was a barrier, humans are going to question it. And then humans might panic about it, that it might be like, they gave a list, the effects of disclosure. What would be the possible effects of humans all of a sudden discovering that we live under a dome on a flat earth? There would be wonder and awe for sure. We'd be like, well, this is amazing. This is not what we thought it was, and then you would have to start dismantling NASA and all the, the subcontractors related to NASA. It would be this slow steps. And then you would have observatories would have to start closing their doors, like, let's say if it's determined that space is fake too, because with the hollow earth with the flat earth, with the whole dome, there's two schools of thought. There's the idea that, yeah, we're under this dome and we're observing space through it and we can't get out into space. Or there's the thought that space is faked and it's almost projected onto the dome. So if that was the case, then observatories would have to close their doors, professors would lose their jobs. So these would be the effects of disclosing the fact that, if this was the case, this is what would happen. And then you would have finger pointing happening. Then people would start being like the governments, why did you lie to us? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? And people would start turning on the governments and people would start turning on science. And the dome would become a religious figure, and that, theocracies would develop now based around this dome. So people are saying that maybe there's this fear of disclosure, that it would turn into this whole giant thing. And to me, this whole spiral with people finger pointing and theocracies, extreme theocracies happening as a result of finding out that there's a dome, all of that is the effect basically of finding out there's a cover up. If you always let us know that there was a dome, then this whole spiral out of control wouldn't happen, because we would be used to it. We would be living with the fact. But they say there would also be the human panic of what's beyond it. Why can't we go at that? Go out of there. Are we trapped? What the heck is going on? So they're afraid of human panic, I guess, of us acting weird about it. But I would think that, if it's a fact of our life, we would kind of accept it because we would always be used to it, just like the fact that we're used to gravity and we kind of accept it. So I don't understand the control of it. I just think it comes back to that whole control. They want to control every single facet of everything of information, because the more information the freer you are. The less you know, the more you can be controlled and manipulated, and they just want to constantly manipulate us. So regardless of whether the theory is real or not, it always comes down to that manipulation. Like if you think about the library at Alexandria being burned down, and they say that it's believed that set humanity back like 1,000 years because there was such great scientific knowledge in there. I believe that was a form of control. Somebody purposely did that to control us by limiting the knowledge that was available to us. But that's another tangent. Let's check this chat. So, you're already more open than most people I meet. Normally, it takes about 6 months to conceive. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate the fact that you're not like, Ashley, why are you so contrary? Because like I said, I just can't drop it yet, but I'm open. I'm open to whatever you guys, are telling me, whatever you have to say. I'm open to exploring this. I'm just not convinced, because the more I read, and even though I'm on the same page that this stuff doesn't add up, I agree. But the more I look into it, it almost feels like a big disinformation campaign. Like, look at the birdie. Like, here, I want all the humans to focus on arguing whether the earth is flat or not, so we can cover everything else up and do other things. We could cover up the secret space program. We could cover up the fact that there's a hollow earth, maybe, and that there's civilizations living in there and messing with humans and everything. So that's where my mind goes, personally. Did you know the moon is the mirror negative of the earth? Oh, that's why those craters look like continents. But it doesn't mirror us exactly. But I have looked at that, though, and thought that it looks like continents. So I can see why people say mirror negative of it. The dark spots are land masses. That's interesting. But it doesn't line up exactly with the land masses, I feel like. Though, like I mentioned it in other streams, I am fascinated by that theory that that what's it called? That the moon didn't always exist there, that it was eventually placed there, that a lot of civilizations talk about the moon just appearing there one day, and that the moon was put there to control us spiritually into like this negative energy thought matrix, and that's why we fight and don't get along. So that moon theory is kind of wild. That moon theory, and it is interesting that we only see one side of the moon from Earth, and from what I've learned, it's because the moon is tidally locked. The gravitational forces, it just stays moving with the Earth. But it's like, well, if the moon was flat too, then we would only see one side of it. And being tidally locked is a perfect cover-up explanation. So when your brain starts going that way, you're like, whoa. So it is a little mind-blowing, certain things like that. So those who can decipher the truth through a coded network of human existence on Earth may be considered more valuable than the common people. Ooh, that's heavy. Let me reread that and make sure I'm grasping the fullness of that. So those who can decipher the truth through a coded network of human existence on Earth may be considered more valuable than common people, which is, I think, also why they hate the people that question the narrative and everything, because that also, besides making you more common, that also makes you more dangerous. Right? If you can think for yourselves, if you don't take what's spoon-fed to you. Because look around us, so few people question the narrative. And even if even if you want to look at these facts and then dismiss them or whatever and go on, and say, oh, it's not a disinformation campaign, or, it's not flat, whatever. All these people are crazy. Ashley and everybody else is crazy, at least you stopped and you were open and you listened and then went back to it. You know what I mean? Because that is dangerous, to them, to the powers that be. The fact that you can go somewhere and be like, I'm going to open myself up and I am going to hear all the facts and I'm going to make a decision. Because people don't do that anymore. You notice everybody just takes what's spoon-fed to them. So that makes you dangerous. It's true. And they don't want that. So that's why they're constantly suppressing information from us all the time. So because we live in a is it an era? But I feel like all of human history has suppressed information. But because we live in such a time of that, I lost my train of thought. I lost where I was going with that. But just especially lately, nobody questions anything anymore. And I feel like it's really fulfilling their goals, because people 50 years ago used to kind of question a little more and then, do their own research. Now, nobody questions the narrative. Nobody does their own research. So which is exactly what they want. So we're falling more and more into what they want. So now those few people who are, questioning the narrative, do become more valuable because there's less of us. And if you were in here, you are, you are those kind of people who are questioning things, who are open to learning, who are open to information. And that makes you valuable. And that also makes you dangerous. That's why channels get banned for talking about stuff like this. So it is now. Thank you so much for coming in. This was inspired by you. And I gave you a shout out at the beginning because of that documentary you sent me. You asked me me to watch this with an open mind, the documentary. I got a little more than halfway through. I ran out of time, and I will finish the rest of the documentary. And so I'm just going to recap you because I don't know where you jumped in. Okay, so the RH stream is over. So I don't know where you jumped in yet, but yeah, the recap is that, you know what? I'm open. I'm open to hearing this. I still am not convinced. I'm still a globe head. But I can completely agree with you guys on the fact that none of this stuff adds up. It doesn't make sense. And I also discussed the possibility of it being a disinformation campaign. If they could keep us arguing about flat earth, then they can be doing everything else against us. But like I said, I'm open to learning and seeing, whatever. Like Facing Reality was giving me some calculations that were wild and doesn't, and it doesn't make sense with the curvature of the earth. So I am, I'm open to learning. I'm still not there yet, but I am, I'm open to discussing it. So, sorry, I'm just catching up on everything. Yes, yep. And I will drop that in the description after the fact. I tried dropping it in the live, but it did, it wasn't able to be clicked. So later, anybody that wants to watch that documentary, if you come back to this video after this is over, after I close this, I will drop the link into the description so you guys can find that documentary. Everything falls when the earth is flat, like Big Bang, evolution, germ theory, and about 90% of current science. So it's true. You start losing everything. NASA closes, the observatories close, the college professors get, lose their jobs. It's true. So much of our reality and of our knowledge does hinge on like these little pedestals. And once the pedestals are broken, things kind of do cascade and fall. Hey, Torin, thank you for coming in. So I guess, yeah, I'm seeing my numbers go back up again now that I guess RH is done talking, or is he still kind of talking? Oh, okay. It's not over. It's on pause since I realized you were live. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate you, you coming in anyway and pausing Richard Hart. So I am honored that you chose me live over him. So it's all about the math that got me to look at it. 8 inches per mile squared. Yeah, we were discussing that before. So that, yeah. And like I said, even if I'm not at that point where I believe that the earth is flat, I can totally agree with you guys on the fact that there is so much that doesn't add up, that there's so much that is being kept from us, and especially Antarctica being the biggest red flag. The fact that everybody gets along and agrees on it, all these countries agrees on the fact that they're not going to carve it up, even though it's full of natural resources, supposedly, and the fact that we're not allowed on it does not make sense. Oh, thank you. It's very nice of you to say. I appreciate that. Flat Earth clues, director's cut, Mark Sargent under the dome. Yeah, they are hiding God. Yeah. So hopefully if you can't click the link, hopefully these search terms will work for you guys. Yeah, it's interesting because, when you say that they are hiding God, that is one of the implications too. So if you are a person of faith like me, if we do live on a flat Earth, and it's found that there is the dome, if it wasn't disinformation, the fact that Admiral Richard Byrd found a barrier in Antarctica, then it begs the question of who put this dome here? Who put this barrier there? And it looks to be placed, for a specific reason. And if you're a person of faith like me and you want to view the world through that lens, then you look at it and go, well, wow, that is just further evidence of a creator. And let's say that is the case. Let's say that does prove, and I know not all of you guys are on the same page, but let's just explore that idea for a moment. If that barrier, if that dome proves, or proves to many the fact that there is a creator, that would be a loss of control by the powers that be, because the powers that be, they want to be kind of the ultimate people in charge. They don't want us to have this faith. They try to attack it at every angle, not just one faith, every single faith in the world. There always seems to be an attack on people's faiths. So if you are, if you've kind of always been attacking all these different faiths and trying to disprove the fact that, there's a divine creator, all of a sudden, if you let humanity know that we have this wild, insane barrier and we don't know how it got there, all of a sudden the world is going to go, oh my gosh, God put it there. It's proof of God, which then the powers that be, that's a loss of control for them, because all of a sudden people are like, oh, F them, forget these powers and these people in control. There's a bigger power out there, and they lose that control and they don't want that. So maybe part of this whole wanting people to believe the earth is round is so that they can cover up the fact that there is a creator. Maybe, maybe that's part of, really, like when you say a rabbit hole, this is a legit rabbit hole. This is a full-on rabbit hole. But let's see, all of a sudden I see that you had your chat hopping and it's catching the corner of my eye. So scientific proof of creation, it's interesting because a lot of things do really point back to that. And anyone ever watched the 100? On the CW, I've heard of it. I haven't watched it, but it's one of those things where I always told myself eventually I'd go and watch it. So flat earth would make humans the center of the universe. True. It does bring it back to that original model, where supposedly thousands of years ago, people believed that the earth was the center of the universe. And people believe that because they believe that, well, God created us. So of course he would make us kind of the center of the universe. So flat earth, if you do believe the earth is flat, then everything kind of would be revolving around us. The sun and the moon rising and coming over the earth and everything. And you'd be like, well, why are we the center of the universe? So it's interesting because, like I said, it's a ton of different rabbit holes. You can go down the faith rabbit hole. You can go down the rabbit hole of, shoot, maybe we're living under a dome on a planet the size of Jupiter. Or you can be, or maybe we're just this flat landmass covering in space. Maybe there is no space. Maybe it's just this, it really is this massive rabbit hole that goes in 10,000 directions. Like you could probably have an entire channel just completely devoted to this. Actually, I think there are channels around, yeah, exactly. Making us the most important thing. I think there are channels just completely devoted to this. So spoiler for the 100th, they use a mini dome in the show later on. Pretty interesting. Overall, the show explores a lot of the seasons. And then if you want to come back to that thing we've always discussed in the past, predictive programming, or are they trying to prime our minds for something, so something like that could come back to that too. Yeah, it's true. Definitely, because when I was watching that documentary and it was talking about a dome, so I'm like, okay, well, if somebody's purposely trying to keep us under a dome, that would mean that there is a purpose for us, because science or certain aspects of science want us to believe that we were just randomly made and came up out of nowhere and we have no purpose in the universe. But if that's the fact, and if they're hiding it from us, they would be hiding it from us because it proves that we have a purpose in the universe. It's interesting. Like I said, 10,000 different rabbit holes, basically, you can go through with this. So you CW, watch it over and over. Listen at this point while working. It gets me going, thinking about it a lot. I'll have to check that out. It's kind of like Firefly. People who use Firefly, that show, as background noise. So the 100 is your Firefly. I like that. Broad alternate universes with life would also make us not so special. True. Like I said, 10,000 different rabbit holes, man. You can go down with this. So this is awesome. I'm definitely going to watch the first hour I missed. Thank you. I was thinking maybe you'd be a little disappointed that I'm not converted over to the point of view yet. But, the idea was, you know what? Let's just discuss it. Why not? Because whatever side of the debate you're on, you could pretty much agree that none of this stuff adds up. That none of this stuff makes sense. I'm with you guys on that. Oh, okay. I won't post that massive spoiler. Yeah, so it's true that dome theory does kind of really come back to faith, if you believe in it, and it's so, which is mind blowing, because it's like, okay, if we are in a flat Earth, if we are under a dome, and that is real, then this could potentially, the whole faith reason could be the reason they're hiding it. Yeah, because it's easier to keep you a slave when you don't believe that you're special, that you don't believe that you're created, then you're the slave to the elite. Flat Earth means more than everything. So yeah, I do see why people are convinced of it and why people gravitate toward it. I do not knock the flat earthers. Like, And it's interesting how much they are villainized because, like I said, initially, like years ago, when I first heard of the flat Earth theory, maybe I was in high school, or maybe I was in college. I don't know, but it seems silly. Like, why would people believe the Earth is flat? That's so ancient. Like, I thought it was a joke. But then I started seeing that no, people were legit in it, and they weren't crazy people. That there was actually valid reasons they believe in it. Like all these things that I've spoken about. Like, man, I agree. Nothing makes sense. Let's see if there's anything else in my notes I've missed. So hold on a second. Let me just catch up on these notes. Because I have some things in here I starred. Sorry, guys. Yeah, and and when we talk about the powers that be, like, what do they know? Do they, let's say we live on a flat Earth, do they know what's going on outside of it? And are just in charge and are keeping it quiet and like lying to us, or are they just as clueless as we are? But they're like, oh, here's an opportunity for control. Let's use it. Okay, interesting. So the show is talking about that too, because I think isn't Dark City about that too? Oh no, or the Truman Show. I think both of them were referenced in the documentary. But the Truman Show, it's like a dome on the Earth, and this guy, I guess, who lives in it thinks that it's the world until he doesn't think it anymore. So flat earthers are being gate kept more than hacks. Yeah, I do see that there's a lot of mocking going on, that there's a lot that a lot of people are being deterred from it because, again, like I've said that thing that my mom says. My mom jokes about faith, where people always like to kind of attack people's faith, and my mom likens it to the tooth fairy. Listen, if you want to believe in the tooth fairy, that's your business. I don't have to attack it. So if you think my faith is as fake as the tooth fairy, then leave me alone. Let me believe it. You don't have any reason to attack it. But the fact that it's attacked makes it seem like it's a threat to people's faith. So same thing with flat earth. Why is it being gate kept? If it's something silly and it's not a threat, then you know what, let them believe it and leave it alone. But the fact that it's so gate kept and it's so attacked makes you wonder if there's some valid points to it. Yeah, so if there's some people here on earth that know, yeah, you wonder, well, it's, again, because control. Sorry, I'm listening to the rain. It's finally raining here. It hasn't rained in a while. Everybody's grass is looking pretty parched. So the fact that knowledge is linked to control tells us a lot. The fact that there's a whole Vatican library that we're really not allowed to access tells us a lot. And the fact that the Alexandria library burned down and there might be a library under the Sphinx, again, makes you wonder. Yeah. Exactly. Can't measure it. So people want to discard, hide the things you can't measure, the things you can't prove. So it's easy to pretend like, these things don't exist. So, we liken faith to it. So a lot of people who take NDA seriously and have amazing partial truths, that there's a lot of people here who know. Yeah. And the thing is, you know what? These people that know, it's not just NDAs. There's threats that go on with people's families. They find the things that people love and they threaten it. Because, if people aren't going to take an NDA seriously, well, if you get your family threatened, you're going to start taking things seriously and keep quiet. So they find ways, whether it be these theories you're talking about or anything else. Like I said, I believe the secret space program's real, that they find ways to quiet people down. They find what can get to them, and they will target that. Flat Earth Underground. Look, this is right up your alley, right? So thank you for joining. So just a summary: Flat Earth Underground. I am still a globe head, but I do agree that there's a lot of things that don't make sense. There's a lot of weirdness. I am with you on that. But thank you for coming. So you can measure the flat Earth. Yeah, that's true. You can. But of course, that's how they restrict you, by not letting you go to Antarctica, by not letting you go to the edges of the Earth. And the things that we take for granted on the Earth, the fact that there's not oxygen up in the sky and that Antarctica is really cold, right? Those are just normal things that we're taught, because that's what the atmosphere is like. That's what it's like when you go to the poles because of the tilt towards or away from the sun. What is it? 27.5 degrees, 37. I don't remember. I used to know that exact number at one point in time. So, um, you know, we take that for granted because we believe, that's just a fact of the earth. But this flat earth theory posits, no, no, no. The fact that that's not just a natural thing in the earth. It's purposely designed like that so that we don't try to go up at the top of the dome by limiting our oxygen there. They make it really cold so that we don't wander in Antarctica. Whoever, made the flat earth, whoever made the dome, these things are intentional. It's intentional that the ocean is salty so that you can't sail your ship all the way to the edge, back in the 1700s before they can do desalinization, because you couldn't drink the salt water and they couldn't bring enough fresh water with them. So the ocean was made salty to prevent that. Everything was actually designed as a deterrent. I don't buy that, but when it is mind blowing when you think of it. Well, these are earth thing. We always believe it is just earth things we've taken for granted. But what if they were specifically designed like that? Then that is like, whoa. Same thing, with digging. Okay, well, why can't we dig out of the hollow earth? Because if you dig, the deepest we've ever gone is 8 miles down, and then it gets too hot that the drill bits stop working. Well, there's a belief that that's because whoever made this flat earth also put furnaces at the bottom to heat everything up and to make molten rock, to keep us from digging, that we're purposely being kept like cage rats. It's interesting. It is interesting when you do open up your mind and look at it through that lens, and things do become pretty mind blowing. You can prove it looking across Long Island Sound from shore to shore, but Long Island Sound is only 19 miles. But I hear you with that whole theory of the curvature and then the inches, the facing reality laid out, that you shouldn't see it so clear from shore to shore. Yeah. Yeah, because I definitely have looked across it many times from Connecticut. I've seen it on the 4th of July where you see the fireworks on Long Island, and I've seen it from Madison, Connecticut, just looking at the land masses. So, alrighty, let me go back to this. I got a little behind. Well, thank you so much for popping in here. Maybe you already left, but thank you for for giving us that info. I appreciate your input. It's 5 in the morning. Where are you at? FEU. I don't know what FEU means. Oh, flat earth on the ground. Sorry. They don't teach flat earth in the schools for a reason. Globe indoctrination starts even before then. Honestly, the schools as a whole are just straight up indoctrination facilities, and that's what I view schools as. Schools as especially the fact that I used to be a teacher. I have a master's in science education, and I view schools as indoctrination facilities. And as I'm watching this documentary, I'm like, you know what? That is cognitive dissonance in a way, to be like, well, I don't trust a lot of what schools teach, but yet I trust the fact that they do teach that we're living on a globe. So it is, it does become like, why do I trust that from them? I gotcha. But I mean, but because there are some facts that come through all the insanities that get taught at school. But yeah, I know cognitive dissonance. So let's see. Came to the West as a plane on 4-year-old. Stayed up the whole journey looking at the plane. It's flat. But that's because the plane moves along with the curvature of the earth, right? I mean, like I said, my dad was a military pilot, and he said nothing he's seen has pointed to the fact that the earth is flat. But there's lightning and rain in your dome right now. Right now we just have rain in this section of the dome. But yeah, again, predictive programming. We got that Stephen King show under the dome. But man, let me see what else I have in these notes. I have a lot of notes, and I'm only halfway through the documentary, but I am going to finish watching the rest of this. But yeah, I have this here. But you know what? Also here, I put a little question mark right here, a little question I put to myself as I was writing my notes. And I wrote, why is there no space tourism? So for years, we've always heard plans about space tourism. And again, I am a believer that space is real and that I believe this is a secret space program and that a lot of this is disinformation that's tied into covering up the secret space program. That's my belief. But and I have this question here: why is there no space tourism? And it made me go, whoa, because space tourism would be pretty basic. Like you've always heard for years, I just kind of go up to the top of the atmosphere and come back, let you kind of be in this low Earth orbit. Let's do space tourism like that. And you know what? Something like that, because we have satellites, because we have all of this, because we've supposedly, gone to the moon and everything, space tourism should be easy. And the fact that we still haven't achieved it yet, and there's so much money to be found in it. Think of all the rich people that would do space tourism. Why aren't we there yet? And I keep getting this advertisement on Twitter that this balloon that'll take you up so high to almost the edge of space, and they want to start it, I don't know, this year or next year, and it'll bring you up so high that you can see the curvature of the earth. And you always see things like this. And, here we're taking reservations. Now you can put down a deposit. This trip is 50, you spend a day doing it. It'll launch from the Grand Canyon and it's about $50,000. And you always see these, and these never like turn into anything. So, and I love the concept. I think it's so cool. But then I'm like, you know what? And I have this feeling of this is one of those things again that never turn into anything. So what is our space tourism not ever turn into something? And again, maybe because it's not possible because we live under a firmament and you can't get into space. Or is it the fact that there's UFOs in a secret space program and that these private entities think that they, that this doesn't exist and want to get up to it. And then, the government's like, no, you can't cancel it. So either way, it doesn't make sense. So I'm like, there's another one of those things that don't make sense. Why don't we have space tourism? So, and I have it here with my asterisks in a big sentence, like my conclusion so far is, and this is exactly what I wrote, but I've been saying this whole time. You can't deny the fact that something is not quite right. Right? It's undeniable. Nothing makes sense. None of this is normal. So you can't deny the fact that it's not right. It's true. I'm still on that page. So like I said, maybe it's disappointing to some of you here that I haven't come to that same conclusion as you, that I can't let go of that yet. But I am with you that things don't make sense. Nothing is right. That's something, that things aren't adding up. Things are being covered up. So there are a lot of new space related degree programs. School of Mining Space Resources. It's interesting. And again, is this information to make us think that this is all real and that there is no firmament? Like what's going on with the Space Force. I don't know. I really, because it opens up 10,000 rabbit holes, so many different wormholes. Sonic Pulse Future Rug Pulls. Okay, because that was, I don't know. Oh, okay, gotcha. Future Rug Pulls with those school programs. Yeah, that is all composite. And again, my brain wonders, is it because they can't Photoshop the UFOs out of it? But no, I'm with you on that. The fact that there's so much CGI and composite images, I'm like, just show it to us. Why is it so hard? That should not be hard. So like I said, I agree that this stuff doesn't make sense. And I'm only halfway through, and I will finish the rest of this documentary. I ran out of time. But yeah, this stuff does not add up, does not make sense. Snap out of it. But listen, I've always been on that same page that this stuff doesn't make sense. I agree. I just can't get on the flat earth page. But I will totally agree with you that none of this stuff is an answer. Like we were talking about, even gravity, the fact that gravity can't be completely explained, but yet they use it to explain everything off to us, doesn't make sense. you know, but no, I haven't completely snapped out of it. So still being stubborn. Um Oh, you have so many more. I know you're gonna convert me. Is that your goal? Um, but I'm telling you, man, when pulse moons, when hex moons, we need to put our money together because hopefully we'll have so much of it where it'll just be pocket change if we all pull together. And we need to do our own research and expeditions. You know what? Why not get a final answer on it? But I guess the powers that be will block us. But if you know we talk about crypto being one of the greatest shifts in assets, from I don't know, the ultra wealthy to regular people. So we are in a big time of asset shifts. With that comes more power. So maybe we have the power to make some of these discoveries and expeditions and explanations. Maybe that's something we should do, like Richard Hart wants to change the world and he's um organized that whole huge, massive donation to SENS Foundation Research. So why not use Hex and Pulse to change the world's understanding of things and to settle this once and for all so that we're not debating this? I think it would be cool. And if space is real, one of those things that me and Matt Crypto Heartbeat have talked about, why not go figure out what the Dark Knight, or it's not the Dark Knight, the Black Knight satellite is all about. So but yeah, hope yet for me. But like I said, at least we're on agreement that this stuff doesn't make sense. But yeah, it is slowly getting there. Yeah, I agree. Why is everything a composite image with NASA? Why is it so much art? Just give us the real thing. It's a good flat earth documentary that recently came out. It's called The Next Level by Hibbler Productions. You can find it on YouTube. Thank you. The Next Level. So now that I have this up here, now it's saved in the stream so I can access it later. Thank you. I just want to teleport somewhere and fly. You want to teleport something and fly. Okay, so, but when you talk teleport, my mind goes back to The Fly, Jeff Goldblum movie. So I guess for now we've been talking for an hour and a half. I think I'm going to wrap it up there, but thanks for discussing this with me and for presenting these arguments and for still staying and being cool with the fact that I am not completely converted over to this belief, but let's talk about it anyway, because I think it's important to be open and to want to look at other points of view and everything. And it's okay if you go back to what your original point of view was, but at least you were open, because so many people are closed off today. You feed people logic and facts. People don't even want to see it or read it. You know what? Yeah. Why not be open? We're humans. We're naturally curious. Let's explore these things. So thank you for exploring these things with me. So flat Earth, the warm simulation theory, the greater consciousness unit, and all that MBT stuff. So, well, you know what? We did, Insidious Thomas did bring up the fact that, that things like this kind of do prime us for the metaverse mentality. The fact that, let's talk about the Great Reset. You will own nothing and you will be happy. So if you prime people into a metaverse mentality, then they will be distracted and not care about, being stripped of our ownership and property and everything. That it kind of, primes our brains, even though, we might not all agree on what it's priming your brain for. It definitely seems to be a thought and reality priming going on. Oh yeah, there's gotta be, especially, you think of, Skinwalker Ranch. I think that's some really interesting evidence of portals happening there. Exactly. They use distractions. Like, think about these constant distractions in the media. So whenever something happens, you always have to stop and look and go, what are they distracting us from? What are they trying to hide? But thank you. Yeah. Thank you guys for being here and bouncing this information back and forth with me. And thank you to It Is Now for sending me that doc and being like, here, watch this with an open mind. So thank you for inspiring the topic of tonight. So I hope you guys are all good, and I hope I didn't scare everybody away. I saw some new faces in here. So I hope you don't think I'm completely insane, and I hope you do choose to return. Everything is energy. Yep. And then what is it? Energy comes together to make matter, and when matter breaks apart, it it makes energy, right? It always comes down to energy. So thank you. Well, thank you for going back to watching the first half. So thank you to everybody who was here live. Thank you to everyone who's going to go back and watch the first half. And thank you to everybody who's watching in the replay. And again, those of you who put Richard Hart on pause and to be like, I want to watch this live, like that is completely flattering. So thank you for being here with me live. And I will see you next week. So wait, hold on. What is today? So next week, wait, hold on, because there's one day that I might have to move to Sunday. No, but next week should be Saturday. So all right. So you have a good night, guys. And sleep tight. Don't fall off the edge of the flat earth. But apparently we can't fall off the edge because there's a barrier, because there's a dome. If this is a true thing in a theory, if it does exist, then apparently we can't sail off the edge. Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys. So you have a good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the aliens bite. And I hope Richard Hart is giving us some good news tonight. So all right, guys. Thank you. Bye.